Amanda wiped her forehead with the back of her hand and fumbled for her car keys in her oversized purse. She was 32 years old, with dark brown hair usually pulled back in a practical ponytail and warm hazel eyes that had seen too much suffering in the emergency room but still held kindness. Being a registered nurse in the ER meant dealing with gunshot wounds, overdoses, car accidents, and everything in between. It was exhausting work, but it paid the bills, barely. Since her divorce from Roberto 2 years ago, Amanda had been raising their daughter Isabella alone, working overtime whenever possible to make ends meet in their modest 2-bedroom apartment in the Maryvale neighborhood. Isabella, or Bella as everyone called her, was 8 years old and the light of Amanda's life. She had her mother's hazel eyes and her father's dark curls, along with a spirit that refused to be dampened despite the upheaval in her young life. Roberto had moved to California shortly after the divorce, sending child support checks sporadically when he remembered. Most months, Amanda didn't bother chasing him for the money. It was easier to just work extra shifts than to deal with his excuses and broken promises. As Amanda climbed into her 2012 Honda Civic, her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Derek Vaughan, the man she'd been dating for the past 3 months. "Hey, beautiful. Dinner tonight? I'll cook. 7 p.m. The message was followed by a heart emoji. Amanda smiled despite her exhaustion. Derek had been a pleasant surprise in her otherwise hectic life. They had met at a coffee shop near the hospital, where Amanda often grabbed her morning caffeine fix before her shifts. Derek had been in line behind her, and when her card was declined, she had forgotten to transfer money from savings. He had stepped in smoothly and paid for both their orders. What started as a grateful thank you had turned into a conversation, then a phone number exchange, and eventually regular dates. Derek was 40 years old, tall and broad-shouldered, with dirty blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. He worked in construction management and seemed financially stable, always picking nice restaurants and insisting on paying. He was charming, attentive, and said all the right things. After 2 years of struggling alone, Amanda had allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, she could have someone to lean on. "Sounds perfect," Amanda texted back. "Bella and I will be there. What can I bring?" "Just yourselves," came the quick reply. That evening, Amanda and Bella drove to Derek's house in North Phoenix, a modest ranch-style home in a quiet neighborhood that was significantly nicer than their apartment complex. Derek had inherited the house from his father, he had explained, which was why he could afford it on his salary. Bella sat in the back seat, her legs swinging as she played a game on Amanda's old smartphone. "Is Mr. Derek going to be nice tonight?" Bella asked, her voice small. Amanda glanced at her daughter in the rearview mirror, catching the worried expression on her face. "Of course, honey. Why would you ask that?" Bella shrugged, her eyes still on the screen. "I don't know. Sometimes he looks at me funny, like he's mad." "Derek isn't mad at you, sweetheart," Amanda reassured her, though a small knot of unease formed in her stomach. He's not used to being around kids. Give him time." The truth was, Amanda had noticed that Derek seemed less enthusiastic when Bella was around. He was patient enough, but there was a stiffness to his interactions with her daughter, a forced quality to his smiles when Bella spoke. Amanda had chalked it up to inexperience. Derek had never been married, never had children. He would warm up eventually. Derek greeted them at the door with his usual broad smile, pulling Amanda into a kiss that lasted a beat too long for comfort, with Bella standing right there. "Hey, princess," he said to Bella, ruffling her hair in a way that made her flinch slightly. "Go watch TV in the living room while I finish dinner with your mom, okay?" Bella nodded and scurried off, relieved to be dismissed. Amanda followed Derek into the kitchen, where he had prepared pasta with marinara sauce and a salad. Country music played softly from a speaker on the counter. Derek loved country, while Amanda preferred rock, but she didn't mind compromising. "How was work?" Derek asked, stirring the sauce. "Brutal," Amanda admitted, leaning against the counter. 3-car pile-up on the I-10, plus the usual summer heat casualties. Dehydration, heat stroke. People just don't drink enough water. "You work too hard," Derek said, his tone sympathetic. He moved closer, wrapping an arm around her waist. "You know, if we got serious, moved in together or something, you wouldn't have to work such crazy hours. I make enough for all of us." Amanda's heart fluttered at the suggestion, equal parts excitement and anxiety. Moving in together was a big step, especially with Bella to consider. "That's sweet, Derek, but I couldn't ask you to—" "You're not asking, I'm offering." His grip on her waist tightened slightly. "I care about you, Amanda. I want to take care of you. Both of you." The dinner was pleasant enough, though Amanda noticed that Derek barely spoke to Bella, directing all his conversation toward her. When Bella accidentally knocked over her water glass, Derek's jaw clenched visibly before he forced a smile. "It's okay, accidents happen," he said, but his voice was tight. Amanda quickly grabbed paper towels to clean up the mess, her unease growing. "Bella, be more careful, honey." After dinner, as they were leaving, Derek pulled Amanda aside while Bella was in the bathroom. "Listen, I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "Maybe next time we could have dinner, just the two of us. Get your neighbor to watch Bella or something." "Mrs. Chen works evenings," Amanda said. "And I don't like to leave Bella with just anyone." Derek's expression darkened for just a moment before smoothing out. "Right, of course, I understand." But Amanda could see the irritation in his eyes. Over the next few weeks, a pattern began to emerge that Amanda tried desperately to ignore. Derek was wonderful when it was just the two of them. Romantic, attentive, generous with his time and money. But when Bella was present, his mood shifted. He became short-tempered, critical of small things, and increasingly insistent that Amanda should discipline Bella more strictly. "She's spoiled," Derek said one evening after Bella had asked for a second dessert. They were at his house again, and Bella had gone to bed in the guest room Derek had set up for her. "You let her get away with everything." "She's 8 years old," Amanda protested, feeling defensive. "She's a good kid." "She's disrespectful," Derek countered, pouring himself a third glass of whiskey. Amanda had noticed he was drinking more lately. "She interrupted me 3 times during dinner. When I was a kid, I would have gotten the belt for that." "I don't believe in hitting children," Amanda said firmly. Derek's eyes flashed. "I'm not saying hit her. I'm saying there need to be consequences. You're too soft, Amanda. That's why her dad doesn't respect you enough to pay his child support." The comment stung, hitting Amanda in her most vulnerable spot. "That's not fair," she said quietly. "Isn't it?" Derek moved closer, his breath smelling of alcohol. "Face it, babe. You let people walk all over you. Your ex, your boss making you work doubles, even Bella. You need someone who'll stand up for you, be the man of the house." Amanda wanted to argue, wanted to defend herself, but she was so tired. Tired of struggling alone, tired of being the only adult in Bella's life, tired of carrying everything on her shoulders. Maybe Derek had a point. Maybe she was too lenient. Maybe she did need someone stronger to lean on. "I should get Bella home," she said instead, avoiding the conversation. "We both have early mornings." Derek's mood shifted immediately, his anger vanishing behind a charming smile. "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I just worry about you both, you know. I want what's best for my girls." My girls, the possessiveness in those words should have alarmed Amanda, but instead she felt a traitorous warmth. Someone wanted to claim them, to protect them. It had been so long since anyone had cared. "I know," she said, letting him pull her into a hug. "I appreciate it." But as she drove home that night, Bella already asleep in the back seat, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting in her relationship with Derek. Something that made her stomach clench with an anxiety she couldn't quite name. The following weekend, Derek invited them to move in with him. "Just think about it," he urged Amanda over the phone. "You're paying rent on that apartment when you could be saving money. Bella could have her own room, a backyard to play in, better schools in this neighborhood too." Amanda did think about it. She thought about Bella's cramped bedroom in their apartment, barely big enough for a twin bed and a small dresser. She thought about the gang activity in Maryvale, the sound of police sirens that were becoming disturbingly routine. She thought about her bank account, perpetually hovering near zero despite her constant overtime. "Okay," she heard herself saying, "let's try it. But if it doesn't work out, it will work out," Derek assured her, his voice warm with victory. "I promise, baby. I'm going to take such good care of you both." They moved in 2 weeks later, on a Saturday in early September, when the Phoenix heat was finally beginning to break, dropping from the hundreds into the 90s. Derek helped carry boxes, his muscles flexing impressively as he hauled Amanda's modest belongings into his house. Bella was quiet during the move, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, a threadbare thing she had owned since she was a baby. "You okay, mija?" Amanda asked her daughter, using the Spanish term of endearment her own mother had used. Bella nodded, but her eyes were uncertain. "Is this our house now?" "Yes, honey, this is our new home. What if Daddy comes to visit? Will he know where we are?" Amanda's heart ached. Roberto hadn't visited in over 6 months. "If Daddy wants to visit, I'll make sure he knows where to find us." The first week went smoothly enough. Derek was on his best behavior, patient with Bella's adjustment to a new room, new surroundings. He even took them both to the Desert Botanical Garden, where they walked among the cacti and desert plants. Bella's hand small in Amanda's as she pointed excitedly at a roadrunner darting between the rocks. But by the second week, cracks began to show. Derek came home from work in a foul mood, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. "Fucking idiots," he muttered, throwing his keys on the counter. "Can't do anything right without me breathing down their necks." Amanda was making dinner, and Bella was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Rough day?" Amanda asked sympathetically. "You have no idea," Derek said, going straight for the liquor cabinet and pouring himself a generous glass of bourbon. "Project's behind schedule, the crew is useless, and the client won't stop calling to complain." He downed half the glass in one swallow. Bella looked up from her math worksheet, her eyes wide. Amanda gave her a reassuring smile. "Why don't you go work on that in your room, honey?" "I'm almost done," Bella said. "I said go to your room," Amanda repeated, her voice firmer. Bella gathered her papers and pencils, but in her haste, she knocked one of her books off the table. It hit the floor with a loud thud. Derek's hand slammed down on the counter, making both Amanda and Bella jump. "Jesus Christ, can't you control your kid? I've got a headache from hell and she's in here making a racket." "I'm sorry." Bella's voice was small, frightened. She grabbed her book and ran from the kitchen, her footsteps pounding up the stairs. Amanda's hands trembled as she stirred the pasta. "Derek, she didn't mean—" "I know she didn't mean it," Derek interrupted, his voice softening. He came up behind Amanda, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled. Bad day, you know." He kissed her neck. "Forgive me." "Of course," Amanda whispered, but her heart was racing. This was the first time Derek had truly yelled at Bella, and the anger in his voice had been startling in its intensity. That night, after Derek had fallen asleep, Amanda slipped into Bella's room. Her daughter was still awake, hugging her stuffed rabbit. "Mom," Bella whispered, "I don't like it when Mr. Derek yells." "I know, baby. He's just stressed about work." It won't happen again. But it did happen again and again. Derek's temper became increasingly volatile, especially when he had been drinking, which was becoming more frequent. He would explode over minor things. Bella leaving her toys in the living room, dinner being ready 10 minutes late, the TV being too loud. Amanda found herself constantly walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace, trying to keep Bella quiet and out of Derek's way. "You're making excuses for him," her co-worker Jennifer said one day during their lunch break at the hospital. Amanda had confided some of what was happening, downplaying the severity. "That's how it starts, you know. First it's just yelling, 'He's never hit us,'" Amanda said defensively. "He's just got a temper. His job is stressful." Jennifer, who had worked in the ER for 15 years and had seen countless domestic violence cases, gave Amanda a long look. "Amanda, honey, I care about you. And I'm telling you as a friend, this isn't normal. The drinking, the yelling, the controlling behavior, these are red flags. I can handle it," Amanda insisted, but even she could hear the uncertainty in her own voice. "Can Bella handle it?" Jennifer asked pointedly. That question haunted Amanda. She saw the way Bella had become quieter, more withdrawn since the move. Her daughter rarely laughed anymore, always seeming tense, waiting for the next explosion. But leaving would mean admitting failure, going back to struggling alone, disappointing Derek, who had been so generous in offering them his home. The situation reached a crisis point on a Friday night in late October. Derek had been drinking since he got home from work, nursing a series of beers while watching a football game. The Arizona Cardinals were losing badly, which put him in an even worse mood. Amanda was cleaning up the dinner dishes, and Bella was supposed to be in her room. "Where's the girl?" Derek asked, his words slightly slurred. "In her room, doing homework," Amanda replied. "Good. Keep her there. I don't want to see her face tonight." Amanda bit back a response, her hands clenched around the dish she was washing. How had she ended up here? How had the charming man from the coffee shop become this angry stranger? Suddenly, Bella appeared in the doorway, her rabbit clutched in one hand. "Mom, can I have some water?" "I'll get it, honey, just go back," Amanda started, but Derek cut her off. "What did I just fucking say?" He stood up, his size suddenly intimidating. "I said I don't want to see you. Are you deaf?" Bella's lower lip trembled. "I just wanted water." "Then get it yourself. You've got working legs, haven't you? Or does your mother have to do everything for you like you're some kind of baby?" "Derek, please." Amanda stepped between him and Bella. "She's just thirsty." "I'll get her the water and she'll go back to her room." "No!" Derek said, his eyes glittering with alcohol and anger. "She's going to get it herself. She needs to learn some independence. You baby her too much." Bella, crying now, moved toward the kitchen sink. Her hands were shaking as she reached for a glass in the cabinet, a cabinet that was too high for her. She had to stand on her tiptoes, stretching as far as she could. "That's it," Derek mocked. "Oh, this is pathetic. She can't even get a damn glass without help." Amanda couldn't take it anymore. "Derek, stop! She's 8 years old." Derek's head whipped toward her, his expression dangerous. "Don't you dare tell me to stop in my own house. This is my house. You live here because I allow it." The words hung in the air like a threat. Bella grabbed her glass, filled it with trembling hands, spilling water on the counter, and fled back to her room. Amanda and Derek stood in silence, the tension thick enough to choke on. Finally, Derek ran a hand through his hair. "Shit. Amanda, I'm sorry. I've been drinking. I didn't mean... Look, I'm going to bed. We'll talk in the morning, okay?" But they didn't talk in the morning. Derek acted as if nothing had happened, making pancakes for breakfast and smiling at Bella like he hadn't reduced her to tears the night before. This became the pattern, explosions followed by apologies or pretending it never happened. Amanda felt like she was losing her mind, unable to trust her own assessment of the situation. Was she overreacting? Was this just normal relationship stress? Or was Jennifer right, and she was making excuses for behavior that was only going to get worse? The answer came on a Sunday afternoon in early November, when Derek didn't just yell. This time, he pushed Amanda during an argument about her work schedule. It wasn't a hard push, just enough to make her stumble back against the kitchen counter, but the line had been crossed. Physical violence had entered their home. "Oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry." Derek immediately gushed, his face stricken. "Are you okay? I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Please, Amanda, I would never hurt you on purpose." Amanda's hip throbbed where it had hit the counter, and she knew there would be a bruise. I think Bella and I should stay somewhere else for a while. Just until things calm down." "No!" Derek's desperation was palpable. "Please don't leave. I swear to God it will never happen again. I'll stop drinking. I'll go to anger management. Whatever you want. Just don't take her away from me. I love you, Amanda. You and Bella are my whole world." He was crying now, real tears streaming down his face. Amanda had never seen him cry before. She felt her resolve weakening. Everyone made mistakes, didn't they? He was promising to change. Didn't he deserve a chance? "One more chance," she heard herself saying. "But Derek, if you ever lay hands on me or Bella again, I won't. I swear on my life." "Thank you, baby. Thank you for believing in me." He kept his promise for exactly 9 days. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving started like any other day. Amanda kissed Bella goodbye as she got on the school bus, reminded her to listen to her teacher, and headed to the hospital for what was supposed to be a regular 8-hour shift. Phoenix was experiencing unseasonably cool weather for late November, with temperatures in the pleasant 70s, and the sky was a brilliant blue that made the city's mountain backdrop look like a postcard. At school, Bella sat through her third-grade classes with her mind wandering. Her teacher, Mrs. Patricia Donovan, had noticed the change in the normally bright and engaged student. Bella had become withdrawn, her homework sometimes incomplete, her participation in class discussions minimal. During lunch, while the other children played and laughed, Bella often sat alone, picking at her food. "Bella!" Mrs. Donovan approached her during recess, where Bella was sitting under a tree, watching the other kids play on the jungle gym. "Can we talk for a minute?" Bella looked up at her teacher with those big hazel eyes, and Mrs. Donovan's heart clenched. She had been teaching for 20 years, and she knew the signs of a child in distress. "Is everything okay at home, sweetheart?" Mrs. Donovan asked gently, sitting down on the bench next to Bella. Bella's first instinct was to nod yes, like her mother had taught her. Family business stays in the family. But something about Mrs. Donovan's kind face made her hesitate. "My mom's boyfriend yells a lot," she admitted quietly. "What does he yell about?" Bella shrugged. "Everything. Me being too loud, dinner not being right, mom working too much, and he drinks stuff that makes him meaner." Mrs. Donovan felt a chill run down her spine. "Has he ever hurt you or your mom?" Bella thought about the night she had seen Derek push her mother. She'd been peeking around the corner, watching. "He pushed Mommy once, but he said sorry." "Thank you for telling me, Bella. You did the right thing." Mrs. Donovan made a mental note to document this conversation and discuss it with the school counselor. Arizona was a mandatory reporting state, which meant if she suspected child abuse or endangerment, she was legally required to report it. That afternoon, Derek came home early from work, and he was already in a foul mood. A major project had fallen through, costing his company a significant contract, and his boss had called him into the office to deliver a scathing critique of his management. Derek had left work at 3 p.m., stopped at a bar, and had several drinks before driving home, something he was doing with increasing frequency despite multiple DUI checkpoints around Phoenix. When he pulled into the driveway at 4:30, Bella was in the living room watching cartoons and working on an art project for school. Amanda wouldn't be home for another 2 hours. Her shift didn't end until 6:30, and then she had the drive from the hospital. "Hey," Derek said as he came through the door. Bella looked up and immediately tensed. She could smell the alcohol on him, see the redness in his eyes. "Hi, Mr. Derek," she said quietly, turning back to her paper and crayons. "What are you doing?" He loomed over her, looking at the drawing she was making. It was a picture of her family. Her her mom, and in the background, a small figure that was clearly meant to be Derek, but drawn far away from the mother and daughter who held hands in the foreground. Derek's jaw clenched. "Where am I in this happy family picture?" he asked, his voice deceptively calm. You're there." Bella pointed to the small figure. "Way in the back, like I don't matter." "Is that what your mother tells you? That I don't matter?" "No," Bella said, her voice shaking. I was drawing me and Mommy first and—" "You know what I think?" Derek interrupted, snatching the paper off the table. "I think you don't want me here. I think you want it to be just you and Mommy, like it was before. But guess what, Princess? I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, and you're here because I allow it." Tears welled up in Bella's eyes. "I'm sorry, I can draw you bigger." "I don't want you to draw me bigger." Derek crumpled the paper and threw it across the room. "I want some respect. I've given you and your mother everything. A roof over your heads, food on the table, and this is the thanks I get? A spoiled little brat who looks at me like I'm a monster? I'm not." Bella was fully crying now, terrified. Derek seemed to realize he had gone too far. He took a breath, ran his hands through his hair. Just go to your room. I don't want to see you right now." Bella didn't need to be told twice. She ran up the stairs, her rabbit clutched tightly to her chest, and locked herself in her bedroom. She curled up on her bed, crying into her pillow, wishing desperately that her mother would come home. Downstairs, Derek poured himself another drink, whiskey this time, straight from the bottle. He knew he was losing control, knew that his behavior was becoming increasingly erratic, but he couldn't seem to stop himself. The anger that had always been part of his personality, carefully controlled and hidden during the courtship phase with Amanda, was now bubbling to the surface with alarming frequency. The truth was, Derek Vaughan had a history. His previous relationship with a woman named Christine Porter had ended 3 years ago when she had taken out a restraining order against him after he had grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises during an argument. Before Christine, there had been Nicole Harris, who had left him after he punched a hole in her apartment wall during a fight. Derek had never seen himself as abusive. He just had a temper, that was all. Women nowadays were too sensitive, too quick to play the victim. If they would just listen, just do what they were supposed to do, he wouldn't have to get angry. That was how he justified it to himself. When Amanda came home at 7:15, traffic had been heavy on the I-10. She immediately sensed the tension in the house. Derek was on the couch, the TV blaring, an empty whiskey bottle on the coffee table. Bella was nowhere to be seen. "Hey," Amanda said cautiously, setting down her purse. "Where's Bella?" "Her room," Derek said, not looking at her. "Where she's been since I got home. She's your kid. Why don't you take care of her?" Amanda's stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Nothing happened. I'm just sick of being treated like an outsider in my own damn house." Amanda climbed the stairs and knocked softly on Bella's door. "Mija, it's Mommy. Can I come in?" She heard the lock click, and then the door opened. Bella's face was blotchy from crying, her eyes red and swollen. "Oh, baby," Amanda pulled her daughter into a hug. "What happened?" Through hiccuping sobs, Bella told her about Derek yelling about the drawing, about calling her a spoiled brat, about how scary he had been. Amanda felt rage and fear war within her. She had to protect her daughter, but where would they go? She had given up her apartment, her savings were depleted from the move. Her family was in Texas, over 1,000 miles away. "Pack a bag," Amanda whispered to Bella. "Just some clothes and your important things, quietly." "Are we leaving?" Hope lit up Bella's face. "Yes, honey, we're leaving." But before Amanda could formulate a more concrete plan, Derek appeared in the doorway. "Going somewhere." His voice was cold. "Derek, we need to talk. Downstairs." Amanda tried to keep her voice steady. "No, we'll talk right here, in front of her, since she's the one causing all the problems." "She's 8 years old. She's not causing problems. You are." The words burst out of Amanda before she could stop them. Derek's face darkened. "Excuse me?" Amanda felt fear crawl up her spine, but she pressed on. "You've been drinking more, yelling more. Derek, this isn't healthy. For any of us, I think Bella and I should stay somewhere else for a while." "You're not going anywhere," Derek said, his voice low and dangerous. He stepped into the room and suddenly the space felt very small. "You walk out that door, Amanda, and you'll have nothing, no home, no money, nothing. You think you can make it on your own? You couldn't even afford your shitty apartment in Maryvale without working yourself to death." "We'll manage," Amanda said, pulling Bella behind her protectively. "You ungrateful bitch," Derek spat. "I give you everything, and this is how you repay me, by threatening to leave? Don't call my mother that." Bella's voice was small but fierce. Derek's attention snapped to her. "What did you say?" "I said don't call her that. You're mean and scary and we don't want to live with you anymore." Everything happened very fast after that. Derek lunged forward, grabbing Amanda's arm and jerking her toward him. "You've been poisoning her against me, turning my own girlfriend's kid against me. Let go of me!" Amanda tried to pull away, but Derek's grip was iron. "Derek, stop! You're hurting her!" Bella was screaming now, trying to pull at Derek's arm. Derek shoved Amanda away from him with such force that she stumbled backward, hitting her head against Bella's dresser. The room spun, and Amanda slid to the floor, dazed. Bella was screaming, high-pitched and terrified, and Derek was yelling, and everything was chaos. Then Derek seemed to realize what he had done. He took a step back, his hands raised. "Amanda, I didn't mean—" "Get out!" Amanda's voice was hoarse. "Get out before I call the police." "This is my house!" Derek roared. "You get out!" He stormed from the room, and seconds later they heard the front door slam and his truck roar to life in the driveway. Tires squealed as he peeled out into the street. Amanda struggled to her feet, her head pounding. Bella was crying hysterically, and Amanda pulled her close, both of them shaking. "It's okay, baby. He's gone. We're okay." But they weren't okay. Amanda's phone was downstairs, and she didn't know where Derek had gone or when he would come back. The back of her head throbbed where it had hit the dresser, and when she touched it, her fingers came away with blood. "We need to leave," Amanda said, trying to think clearly despite the pain and fear. "Right now. Pack your backpack with clothes. Hurry." They moved quickly, throwing items into bags. Amanda grabbed her purse, her phone, her car keys. They were halfway down the stairs when they heard Derek's truck pulling back into the driveway. He had been gone less than 10 minutes. Amanda's blood ran cold. She grabbed Bella's hand, and they ran to the garage door, but Derek was already coming through the front door, blocking their exit. "Where do you think you're going?" His voice was eerily calm now, which was somehow more frightening than the yelling. He had a fresh beer in his hand. "Derek, please, just let us go. We'll talk tomorrow when everyone's calmed down." "No." Derek took a long drink of his beer. "We're going to talk now. You're going to tell me why you think it's okay to disrespect me in my own house, and she," he pointed at Bella, "is going to learn that actions have consequences. Leave her out of this." Amanda pushed Bella behind her. "She's the problem. She's been the problem from day one. Everything was fine until she started poisoning you against me." Derek advanced on them, and Amanda made a split-second decision. She grabbed a lamp from the side table and threw it at him, not to hurt him, but to create a distraction. As Derek ducked, Amanda and Bella ran for the front door. They made it outside into the cool November evening, but Derek was right behind them. Amanda fumbled with her car keys, trying to unlock the Honda, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip them. "Amanda!" Derek's hand closed around her arm, spinning her around. "Don't you dare!" She hit him. A wild swing that connected with his jaw, born purely of fear and desperation. Derek's head snapped back, more from surprise than actual force, and his grip loosened just enough. "Bella, run!" Amanda screamed. "Run to Mrs. Pearson's house and call 911!" But Bella was frozen, terrified, standing by the car. Derek recovered from the hit, and his face transformed into something Amanda barely recognized. Pure rage, unfiltered and terrifying. "You hit me," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "You actually fucking hit me." His fist came up, and for a moment Amanda thought he was going to hit her back. But the sound of a neighbor's door opening made him hesitate. Thomas Pearson, an elderly veteran who lived next door, was standing on his porch. "Everything all right over there?" Mr. Pearson called out, his hand on his phone. Derek immediately transformed, his expression shifting to sheepish embarrassment. "Yeah, sorry for the noise. Just a little disagreement. You know how it is." But Mr. Pearson wasn't buying it. He could see Amanda's frightened face, the little girl crying, the tension in Derek's posture. "Ma'am, do you need help?" Amanda wanted to scream yes, wanted to beg this near stranger for help. But Derek's hand was still on her arm, squeezing hard enough to hurt, a silent warning. "We're fine," she managed to say. "Thank you, Mr. Pearson." The old man hesitated, clearly uncomfortable, but finally went back inside. Amanda knew he was probably calling the police anyway, or at least she hoped he was. Derek dragged Amanda and Bella back into the house, locking the front door behind them. "You've done it now," he said. "The neighbors think I'm some kind of abuser. Do you have any idea how that makes me look? Derek, please, shut up." He backhanded her, a stinging blow across her face that made her ears ring. Bella screamed. It was as if a dam had broken. All of Derek's carefully maintained control shattered completely. He grabbed Amanda by her hair, dragging her toward the living room, while Bella followed, crying and begging him to stop. "You want to leave? Fine, but you're not taking anything from this house. Not clothes, not money, nothing." He shoved Amanda onto the couch so hard she bounced. "You can walk out that door with just the clothes on your back and good fucking luck surviving." "Okay," Amanda sobbed, her face throbbing, her scalp burning where he had pulled her hair. "Okay, we'll go. Just let us go, Derek. Please." "Not yet." Derek grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him. "First, you're going to apologize. You're going to tell me you're sorry for being ungrateful, for turning your daughter against me, for hitting me." "I'm sorry," Amanda whispered, meaning it only in the sense that she was sorry she had ever met him, sorry she had ever trusted him, sorry she had put her daughter in this position. Derek seemed to sense her insincerity. His hand tightened on her chin. "You don't mean it. You're just saying what I want to hear." The doorbell rang, a sharp, insistent sound that made Derek's head whip toward the door. Through the window, they could see the flashing lights of a police car. Fuck. Derek released Amanda and went to the window, peering out. 2 Phoenix police officers stood on the porch, a male and a female, both looking alert and serious. "Don't say anything stupid," Derek warned Amanda in a low voice. Then he plastered on a smile and opened the door. "Evening, officers. Is there a problem?" The male officer, whose badge read J. Morrison, consulted his notepad. "We got a call about a domestic disturbance at this address. Is everything all right here?" "Just a misunderstanding," Derek said smoothly. "My girlfriend and I had a disagreement, but we've worked it out. Everything's fine now." Officer Morrison looked past Derek to where Amanda sat on the couch, Bella clutched against her side. Even from the doorway, he could see Amanda's red face, her disheveled appearance. "Mom, can you come to the door, please?" Amanda stood on shaky legs, keeping Bella close. When she reached the door, the female officer, Officer K. Santos, immediately noticed the mark on her cheek, the slight swelling already forming. "Did he hit you?" Officer Santos asked directly. Amanda's eyes flicked to Derek, who was watching her intently. She thought about saying yes, about ending this nightmare right now, but Derek had been right about one thing. This was his house. If he was arrested, where would she and Bella go tonight? She had less than $40 in her wallet, no apartment to return to, and she was exhausted and hurt and scared. We were arguing and I walked into the doorframe," Amanda lied. the words tasting like ash in her mouth. Officer Santos clearly didn't believe her. She had seen this scenario play out countless times. The frightened woman, the intimidating boyfriend, the obvious lies. "Ma'am, if you're in danger, we can help you. There are resources." "I'm fine," Amanda insisted. "Really? We just need some space to cool down." The officers exchanged a glance. Without visible injuries severe enough to press charges without Amanda's cooperation, and with Amanda denying abuse, their hands were largely tied. "Sir, we're going to need you to leave the premises for the night," Officer Morrison said to Derek. "Give everyone a chance to calm down." "This is my house," Derek protested. "Sir, we can either have you leave voluntarily or we can arrest you for disorderly conduct. Your choice." Derek's jaw worked, but he finally nodded. "Fine, I'll go stay with a friend." He grabbed his keys and wallet, shooting Amanda a look that promised this wasn't over. "I'll be back tomorrow to check on my girls." After the police left and Derek drove away, Amanda locked every door and window in the house. She and Bella huddled together on the couch, neither of them speaking. Amanda's phone buzzed with text messages from Derek. First apologetic, then angry, then apologetic again. "I'm so sorry, baby. I don't know what came over me. This is all your fault. If you had just listened. Please don't leave me. I love you so much. You made me look like a criminal in front of the cops. I'll change, I swear. Just give me another chance." Amanda turned off her phone. Tomorrow she would figure out what to do. Tomorrow she would find somewhere safe to go. But tonight, she just held her daughter and tried to stop shaking. Bella finally spoke, her voice small in the darkness. "Mommy, I'm scared." "I know, Mija, me too." "Are we going to leave?" "Yes, baby. First thing in the morning, we're leaving and never coming back." But morning brought a new horror. When Amanda tried to start her car, it wouldn't turn over. The battery was completely dead, and when she popped the hood, she discovered why. Someone had disconnected the battery cables. Derek had made sure they couldn't leave. The Saturday morning dawned bright and clear over Phoenix, the November sun warming the desert city to a pleasant 75 degrees. Derek Vaughan had returned to his house at 7 a.m., looking haggard from a night spent drinking at his friend's apartment. He pounded on the door until Amanda, bleary-eyed and exhausted from a sleepless night, let him in. "We need to talk," Derek said, his voice hoarse. He looked genuinely remorseful, his eyes red-rimmed and his shoulders slumped. "Amanda, God, I don't even know what to say. What I did last night was inexcusable." Amanda kept her distance, her hand on her phone in her pocket. "You need to let us leave, Derek. I know you want to go, and you should. I don't deserve you." He ran his hands through his hair, the picture of a broken man. "But please, just give me a chance to explain, to say goodbye properly. Not like this, not with hate between us." Every instinct, Amanda had screamed at her to refuse, to grab Bella and run. But her car still wouldn't start. She had tried again that morning with the same result, and she had nowhere to go anyway. "Fine, talk." For the next hour, Derek cycled through apologies, self-flagellation, and promises to change. He cried, begged for forgiveness, swore he would go to therapy and stop drinking. Amanda sat on the couch, numb, barely listening. She had heard variations of this before. "I'll fix your car," Derek offered. "It's probably just a loose connection or something. Let me look at it, and then if you still want to go, I'll help you pack. I'll even help you find a new place. I just want you to be safe and happy, even if it's not with me." It was manipulation. Amanda recognized it intellectually, but she was so tired. "Okay," she agreed. "Fix the car." Derek spent the next 30 minutes in the garage, supposedly working on the Honda. When he came back in, he was smiling. "Try it now." Amanda turned the key, and the engine purred to life. Relief flooded through her. "See? Just needed to tighten some connections. Derek wiped his hands on a rag. Listen, I know you want to leave, but it's almost lunchtime. Let me make you and Bella some food before you go. One last meal, please. Amanda should have said no. Every fiber of her being knew she should grab Bella and drive away immediately. But Bella was hungry. Amanda had barely been able to get her to eat breakfast, and what was one more hour? Okay, she said against her better judgment. One meal, then we're going. Derek made grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, Bella's favorite. He was calm, almost eerily so. The rage from the previous night seemingly vanished. Bella picked at her food, unwilling to look at Derek. Bella, sweetheart, Derek said gently. I owe you an apology too. I was very wrong to yell at you, to scare you. None of what happened was your fault, it was all me. Bella said nothing, shrinking closer to her mother. After lunch, Amanda went upstairs to pack their belongings properly. Derek offered to help, but she firmly told him to stay downstairs. As she folded clothes and gathered toiletries, her mind raced with logistics. She would go to a hotel tonight, something cheap. Tomorrow, she would look for an apartment, maybe see if the hospital had any emergency housing resources for employees. She could do this. She had to do this. She was nearly finished packing when she heard raised voices downstairs. Derek's voice, angry again, and Bella's frightened responses. Amanda's heart dropped. She ran down the stairs to find Derek towering over Bella, who was backed against the living room wall. I tried to apologize to you and you just ignore me. That's disrespectful, Derek was saying. Leave her alone. Amanda rushed to put herself between them. I'm sick of being treated like the bad guy. Derek's calm facade had completely crumbled. I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me? I want you to let us leave peacefully, Amanda said, keeping her voice as steady as possible. No. Derek's eyes were wild now. You're not leaving. I'm not going to be abandoned again. Everyone always leaves, but not you. You're going to stay and work this out with me. Derek, you're scaring us. Please, just step back. He grabbed her, his fingers digging into her upper arms. You're not leaving, Amanda struggled, trying to break free. Bella, run. Get out of the house. But Derek blocked Bella's path to the front door. The 8-year-old hesitated, terrified, tears streaming down her face. Both of you, sit down. Derek shoved Amanda toward the couch. We're going to talk about this like adults. What followed was a nightmare that seemed to stretch on forever. Derek, becoming increasingly agitated and irrational, wouldn't let them leave. He paced the living room, ranting about betrayal and disrespect and ingratitude. At some point, he grabbed a bottle of vodka from the kitchen and started drinking straight from it. Amanda tried to stay calm, to de-escalate, to protect Bella. But every attempt to reason with Derek only seemed to make him angrier. Hours passed. 1 hour, 2, 3. The sun began its descent toward the western horizon, casting long shadows through the windows. I need to use the bathroom, Bella whispered to Amanda. Derek, Bella needs... Amanda started. She can hold it, Derek snapped. She's 8 years old. She needs to use the bathroom. I'm taking her upstairs. Amanda stood, pulling Bella with her. Don't you walk away from me. Derek moved to block them again, and this time when Amanda tried to push past him, he hit her. A closed fist punched to her jaw that sent her sprawling onto the floor. Bella screamed. The violence unleashed something in Derek, something that had perhaps always been there, but had been kept carefully leashed until now. He kicked Amanda in her ribs as she tried to crawl away once, twice. Bella was screaming and crying, and Derek told her to shut up. And when she wouldn't stop, he advanced on her too. Don't touch her. Amanda threw herself between Derek and her daughter, taking another blow meant for Bella. Her lips split, blood running down her chin. In the chaos, Bella made a run for the front door. Her small fingers fumbled with the lock. Derek had engaged the deadbolt that required a key, but there was a chain lock up high that he hadn't secured. Bella dragged a chair over, climbed up, and managed to unlatch it. "Get back here!" Derek started toward her, but Amanda grabbed his leg, tripping him. Bella wrenched open the door and ran out into the street, screaming for help. The neighborhood was quiet. It was late afternoon on a Saturday, and many residents were inside watching college football or out running errands. But Bella kept running, her lungs burning, her stuffed rabbit forgotten on the living room couch. She ran 2 blocks before she saw them. A group of motorcycles parked outside a small cafe called Ruby's Diner. 5 big bikes, gleaming chrome and black leather, and 3 men in denim vests sitting at an outdoor table, drinking coffee and talking. Bella didn't think. She just ran straight to them, her face streaked with tears, her voice hoarse from screaming. "Please, please help. My mother is being beaten. Please." The 3 men immediately stood up. The tallest one, a muscular man in his late 40s, with graying hair pulled back in a ponytail and a scar running along his jaw, knelt down to Bella's level. "Slow down, sweetheart. What's your name?" His voice was surprisingly gentle for someone so imposing. "Bella," she gasped. "Bella Martinez, my mom's boyfriend. He's hurting her really bad. Please, you have to help her." The man looked at his 2 companions. One was younger, maybe mid-30s, with auburn hair and kind brown eyes, and the other was stocky and broad-shouldered with a full beard. All 3 wore vests that said Desert Riders MC on the back. "Where's your mum, Bella?" the tall man asked. 2 blocks that way." Bella pointed back the way she had come. "The White House with the blue door, please hurry." The tall man stood up and pulled out his phone, dialing 911 as he strode toward his motorcycle. "This is Marcus Henderson. I'm at Ruby's Diner on West Thunderbird Road. We've got a little girl here reporting domestic violence in progress." He gave the dispatcher the address Bella had described. "We're heading over there now." "Sir, please wait for police." The dispatcher started, but Marcus had already hung up. "Jake, Vinny, let's go," Marcus said to his companions. "Miss Ruby," he called to the cafe owner who had come out to see what the commotion was about, "can you stay with the kid until the cops arrive?" Ruby, a woman in her 60s with bright red hair and a no-nonsense demeanor, immediately put an arm around Bella. "I've got her. You boys be careful." The 3 bikers mounted their motorcycles, engines roaring to life with a sound like thunder. Bella watched them speed off toward Derek's house, and for the first time in hours, she felt a glimmer of hope. Marcus Henderson was a man with a complicated past. At 19, he had joined the Marines and served 3 tours in Afghanistan, earning a Purple Heart after an IED explosion left him with shrapnel scars and hearing loss in his left ear. When he returned to Phoenix, he struggled with PTSD and survivor's guilt, unable to hold down a normal job, unable to shake the nightmares. Motorcycles had saved his life, specifically the Desert Riders Motorcycle Club, a group of veterans and working-class men who rode together, supported each other, and tried to make a positive difference in their community. The Desert Riders weren't an outlaw club. They were registered as a non-profit, volunteering at veterans' hospitals, running toy drives for underprivileged kids, and organizing charity rides. But they were all hard men who had seen violence, who knew what it looked like, and who had made an informal pact. They would never turn their backs on someone in need. When Marcus and his brothers pulled up to Derek's house, the front door was still open. They could hear shouting from inside and the sound of something breaking. "Jake, circle around back in case he runs," Marcus ordered. "Vinny, with me." They approached the front door cautiously. Inside, they could see Derek standing over Amanda, who was curled on the floor, her arms protecting her head as Derek kicked her repeatedly. "Hey!" Marcus's voice boomed through the house like a cannon shot. "Step away from her, now!" Derek whirled around, his face contorted with rage and alcohol. "Who the fuck are you? This is my house. Get out!" Marcus and Vinny entered the house, their size and presence immediately filling the space. Both men were well over 6 feet and muscled from years of physical work, Marcus as a mechanic, Vinny as a construction worker. The little girl asked us to help her mom, Marcus said, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. So, continuing the story. That's what we're doing. Derek's drunken bravado wavered as he took in the size of the two men. You have no right to be in my house, and you have no right to beat a woman half to death, Vinny said, his voice low and threatening. Step away from her. Last warning. Derek made the mistake of lunging at Marcus, swinging wildly. Marcus, trained in hand-to-hand combat from his Marine days, easily sidestepped and grabbed Derek's arm, twisting it behind his back and forcing him face down onto the floor. Vinny moved quickly to Amanda, kneeling beside her. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ambulance is on the way, Vinny said gently. Amanda's face was a mess, swollen, bloody, her lips split open. Her ribs screamed with pain, and she was fairly certain at least one was broken. But she nodded, relief flooding through her. Bella, she whispered. My daughter. She's safe, Vinny assured her. She's with Ruby at the diner. Brave kid, she saved your life. The sound of sirens filled the air, police and ambulance arriving simultaneously. Within minutes, the house was filled with first responders. Derek was handcuffed and placed in the back of a police car, still shouting about his rights and how this was all a misunderstanding. Two paramedics attended to Amanda, carefully checking her injuries and preparing to transport her to Phoenix General. Ironically, the same hospital where she worked. Officer Santos, who had responded to the call the previous night, stood in the living room surveying the scene with grim satisfaction. Ma'am, I'm glad you're getting help now, she said to Amanda as the paramedics loaded her onto a gurney. We're going to make sure he doesn't hurt you again. Marcus rode his motorcycle to the diner to check on Bella. The little girl was sitting at a table with Ruby, who had given her hot chocolate and cookies, but Bella hadn't touched either. When she saw Marcus, she jumped up. Is my mum okay? Is she alive? Marcus knelt down to her level. She's alive, sweetheart. She's hurt, but the paramedics are taking good care of her. They're taking her to the hospital. Can I see her? Absolutely. I'll take you there myself. Ruby offered to drive them in her car, but Marcus assured her his bike was equipped for passengers. He gave Bella his extra helmet, kept for exactly these kinds of situations, and she climbed on behind him, her small arms wrapped tightly around his waist. As they rode through Phoenix streets toward the hospital, Bella felt a strange sense of safety despite everything that had happened. This stranger, with the scary appearance and the gentle voice, had saved her mother. He was a hero, like in the stories she read. At Phoenix General, Amanda was being examined in the emergency room, a surreal experience for her to be the patient instead of the nurse. Dr. Stephen Caldwell, one of her colleagues, was treating her with professional efficiency but obvious concern. Amanda, you've got a fractured rib, severe bruising, a mild concussion, and your lip is going to need stitches, he said. We're going to keep you overnight for observation. My daughter, Amanda said through the pain. I need to see my daughter. She's in the waiting room. I'll have someone bring her back once we've got you stabilized. When Bella was finally allowed to see her mother, she burst into tears at the sight of Amanda's battered face. Mommy, I'm so sorry. I should have called 911 faster. I should have... No, Mija. Amanda reached for her daughter's hand, wincing at the movement. You did exactly the right thing. You were so brave. You saved me. Marcus stood in the doorway, giving them privacy. Amanda looked up at him, her eyes filling with tears. Thank you, she said, her voice breaking. I don't even know your name, but thank you for saving my life. Marcus Henderson, ma'am, and you don't need to thank me. I'm just glad we were there when your daughter needed help. Over the next few hours, as Amanda was moved to a room for overnight observation, Marcus learned more about their situation. Amanda had no family in Arizona, no apartment to return to, and limited savings. Derek had been arrested and charged with aggravated assault and domestic violence, but bail hearings happened quickly in Maricopa County, and there was a real possibility he could be out within days. Marcus made some phone calls. First to his club president explaining the situation, then to a friend who ran a women's shelter. By the time visiting hours ended, he had a plan. "Mrs. Martinez," Marcus said, "when you're discharged tomorrow, you and Bella aren't going back to that house. We've arranged for you to stay at the Grace House Women's Shelter. It's a safe place, specifically for domestic violence survivors. They've got security, counseling services, legal aid." Amanda wanted to protest, wanted to say she could handle it herself, but she was too exhausted and in too much pain. "Why are you doing this for us? You don't even know us." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "When I came back from Afghanistan, I was in a bad place. PTSD, nightmares, couldn't hold down a job. I got into a relationship with a woman who, let's just say, she wasn't good for me. She was verbally abusive, manipulative. One night, things got physical. She came at me with a knife during an argument. I defended myself, but I could have hurt her badly if I hadn't had training to control my response." He paused, remembering. "My brothers in the club, they pulled me out of that situation, gave me a place to stay, got me into therapy, helped me rebuild my life. So when I see someone else in trouble, especially a kid as brave as Bella, I can't just walk away. We help our community. That's what we do." The next morning, Amanda was discharged with prescriptions for pain medication and a follow-up appointment with orthopedics for her rib. Marcus and Vinny arrived to pick them up. Vinny in his truck this time, since Amanda couldn't ride on a motorcycle in her condition. Grace House was located in central Phoenix, a nondescript building with reinforced security doors and cameras. The director, Patricia Chen, welcomed them warmly. "You'll be safe here," she promised. "We have security guards, and the address isn't publicly listed. Derek Vaughan won't be able to find you." Amanda and Bella were given a small but clean room with 2 twin beds, a shared bathroom down the hall, and access to communal kitchen and living areas. Other women and children were staying there too, all survivors of domestic violence, all trying to rebuild their lives. That first week was a blur. Amanda met with a legal aid attorney named David Brennan, who specialized in domestic violence cases. He explained that Derek was being held on $50,000 bail and had a court hearing scheduled for the following week. "The charges are serious. Aggravated assault causing serious physical injury is a felony in Arizona," David explained. "With your injuries documented, the police report, and witness testimony from Mr. Henderson and his friends, we have a strong case. But I need to prepare you. These cases can be emotionally difficult. You may have to testify to relive what happened. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure he can't hurt us again," Amanda said firmly. Meanwhile, Bella was seeing a child psychologist at the shelter named Dr. Rachel Foster. In gentle play therapy sessions, Bella began to process the trauma she had experienced. Not just the final violent incident, but the months of living in fear, walking on eggshells, watching her mother be gradually broken down. "Children are remarkably resilient," Dr. Foster told Amanda, "but Bella will need ongoing support. The good news is she has you and you're getting help. That's the most important thing." Marcus and the Desert Riders became unexpected allies in Amanda's recovery. Jake Sullivan, the younger biker with auburn hair, owned a small auto repair shop and offered Amanda free service on her Honda, which she had managed to retrieve from Derek's house with a police escort. Vinny Romano, who worked construction, connected Amanda with a friend who had an apartment available for rent at below market rates for when she was ready to leave the shelter. But Marcus was the one who visited most regularly, bringing Bella books and stuffed animals to replace the rabbit she had left behind. bringing Amanda information about victims' rights and support groups. He never pushed, never overstepped, just offered steady support. "Why do you have so much time for us?" Amanda asked him one afternoon in the shelter's courtyard, where they were watching Bella play with some other children. Marcus shrugged. "My auto shop is flexible. I'm the owner, so I set my own hours, and honestly, Mrs. Martinez, call me Amanda. Amanda, honestly, helping you and Bella, it's helping me too. It reminds me why I fought to get my life back together. We all need purpose, you know?" Derek's bail hearing resulted in him being released on bond, but with strict conditions. He had to wear a GPS ankle monitor, was prohibited from contacting Amanda or Bella, and had to surrender his firearms. A protective order was issued, making it a crime for him to come within 500 feet of them. Amanda was terrified when she learned he was out, despite the restrictions. What if he finds us? What if he violates the order? Then he goes straight back to jail, Officer Santos assured her. The officer had made it her personal mission to check in on Amanda regularly. "And between you and me, Mr. Henderson and his club have made it known in certain circles that Derek Vaughan is being watched. He'd be stupid to try anything." Indeed, the Desert Riders had established an informal protection detail. When Amanda had to leave the shelter for work, she had returned to her nursing job, needing the income and the normalcy. There was often a motorcycle or two in the hospital parking lot. When Bella went to school, one of the club members' wives, Diane Henderson, Marcus's wife, Amanda learned, volunteered to be on the approved pickup list as backup. The trial was scheduled for early January, giving the prosecutor time to build an airtight case. In the meantime, Amanda began attending a domestic violence support group at the shelter. Hearing other women's stories, some worse than hers, some eerily similar, helped her understand that what had happened wasn't her fault. She hadn't been weak or stupid. Derek had been a skilled manipulator, and she had been vulnerable after years of struggling alone. One evening, about 3 weeks after the incident, Marcus brought someone new to meet Amanda, a woman in her late 40s named Helen Rodriguez, who ran a non-profit called New Beginnings that helped domestic violence survivors with job training, financial literacy, and housing assistance. "Amanda, Marcus tells me you're a registered nurse," Helen said. "That's a solid career foundation. But I understand you're living paycheck to paycheck, no savings, limited resources. We can help change that." Over coffee in the shelter's dining room, Helen outlined a plan. Financial counseling to help Amanda budget and rebuild savings. Assistance with first and last month's rent on an apartment, even a small emergency fund. "We're funded by donations and grants specifically for this purpose," Helen explained. "You're not taking charity. You're accepting the help that's available so you can build a stable life for yourself and your daughter." Amanda cried, not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. For months, she had felt utterly alone, like she was drowning with no life preserver. Now, she had an entire community reaching out to pull her to safety. January arrived with cooler temperatures in Phoenix, the desert winter bringing nights that dipped into the 40s and days that were pleasantly mild. Amanda had moved out of Grace House into a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Glendale, a suburb northwest of Phoenix. It wasn't fancy. The carpet was worn and the appliances were outdated, but it was clean, affordable, and most importantly, it was theirs. Bella had her own room, which she had decorated with posters of her favorite cartoon characters and the new stuffed animals Marcus had brought her. The trial of Derek Vaughan began on January 15th at the Maricopa County Superior Court. Amanda had been dreading this day, but she had also prepared for it extensively with David Brennan, her attorney. They had rehearsed her testimony, discussed what the defense attorney might ask, and developed strategies for staying calm under pressure. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Wu, was a sharp woman in her mid-30s with a reputation for taking domestic violence cases seriously. She had laid out the state's case methodically, police reports, medical records documenting Amanda's injuries, photographs of her battered face that made several jurors visibly wince, and testimony from Officer Santos about the 2 calls to Derek's residence. When Amanda took the stand, her voice was steady, despite her racing heart. She wore a conservative navy dress and minimal makeup, letting the fading bruises on her face speak for themselves. Though most had healed in the 2 months since the assault, there was still slight discoloration around her jaw. "Ms. Martinez, can you describe your relationship with the defendant?" Jennifer Wu asked. Amanda took a breath. "We met last spring and started dating in July. He seemed charming at first, attentive. After a few months, he invited my daughter and me to move in with him." "When did his behavior change?" "Almost immediately after we moved in, he became controlling, critical, especially toward my daughter. He drank heavily and would get angry over small things." The defense attorney, Robert Lawson, a man in his 50s who Derek's family had hired, objected several times, trying to paint Amanda as a disgruntled ex-girlfriend, exaggerating normal relationship conflicts. But the medical evidence was irrefutable. Dr. Caldwell testified about Amanda's fractured rib, concussion, and other injuries, stating unequivocally that they were consistent with being beaten. Then it was Bella's turn. Because she was a minor, special accommodations were made. She testified via closed-circuit television from another room, with only the judge, attorneys, and a victim advocate present. Amanda watched on the courtroom monitor, her heart breaking as her daughter, in her small voice, described that terrible day. "He was hitting my mum and kicking her, and she was crying," Bella said, tears streaming down her face. "I ran outside to get help because I thought he was going to kill her." There wasn't a dry eye among the female jurors. Even the judge, the Honorable Margaret Simmons, appeared moved. Marcus Henderson testified about responding to Bella's plea for help, describing what he had found when he entered Derek's house. The defendant was standing over Ms. Martinez, who was curled on the floor trying to protect herself. He was kicking her repeatedly. I ordered him to stop, and he became aggressive toward us. "Did you feel Ms. Martinez was in imminent danger?" Jennifer Wu asked. "Absolutely. If we hadn't intervened when we did, I believe he would have killed her." The defense tried to suggest that Marcus and his friends had assaulted Derek, that they were a violent biker gang interfering in a private domestic dispute. But Marcus remained calm and factual, and character witnesses, including a Phoenix police sergeant who had worked with the Desert Riders on community programs, testified to the club's positive reputation. The trial lasted 3 days. Derek did not testify on his own behalf, which his attorney had advised against given his temper and the damning evidence. Instead, the defense tried to suggest that Amanda had provoked him, that she had hit him first, that he was merely defending himself. It took the jury 4 hours to return a verdict, guilty on all counts, including aggravated assault causing serious physical injury, a Class 3 felony in Arizona. Derek's face was impassive as the verdict was read, but his mother, sitting in the gallery, sobbed. Amanda felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion and relief. It was over. He couldn't hurt them anymore. Sentencing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Arizona sentencing guidelines for Class 3 felonies ranged from 5 to 7 years in prison for a first offense, with various aggravating factors potentially increasing that range. The domestic violence designation added mandatory counseling requirements. When sentencing day arrived, Amanda was allowed to read a victim impact statement. She had spent days writing it, wanting to convey not just the physical injuries, but the emotional devastation, the terror, the long-term effects on both her and Bella. "Your Honor," Amanda read, her voice clear, "Derek Vaughan took away my sense of safety. He made me question my own judgment, my own worth. He traumatized my 8-year-old daughter, who still has nightmares about that day. But he didn't break us. We are survivors, not victims. We are rebuilding our lives, and we are stronger than he could ever make us weak." Judge Simmons looked at Derek, who sat stone-faced at the defense table. "Mr. Vaughn, you were given a position of trust when Ms. Martinez and her daughter moved into your home. You abused that trust in the worst possible way. Your actions were calculated, sustained, and brutal. This court takes domestic violence very seriously." She sentenced him to 5 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections with credit for time served. With good behavior, he could be eligible for early release after 3 years, but he would remain on supervised probation for an additional 5 years after release, with mandatory domestic violence counseling. As Derek was led away in handcuffs, he finally showed emotion, anger and resentment burning in his eyes as he glared at Amanda. But she didn't flinch. She had faced her abuser in court and won. She had reclaimed her power. Outside the courthouse, Marcus was waiting with Vinny and Jake. They had attended every day of the trial, providing silent support. "It's really over," Amanda said, feeling like she might collapse from relief. "It's over," Marcus confirmed. "Now the real healing begins." The months that followed were a journey of gradual recovery. Amanda continued therapy with a counselor who specialized in trauma, learning to recognize the warning signs she had missed with Derek, understanding the patterns of abuse, and rebuilding her self-esteem. She attended her support group regularly, eventually becoming a mentor to newer members. Bella's nightmares decreased in frequency with continued therapy. She began to laugh again, to play with abandon, to be a child instead of a frightened shadow. Her teacher, Mrs. Donovan, reported that she was participating more in class, her grades improving, her spirit returning. The Desert Riders had become like family. Marcus and his wife, Diane, invited Amanda and Bella to their home for Sunday dinners. Jake taught Bella how to do basic bicycle maintenance, buying her a used bike that he refurbished. Vinny's wife, Maria, who spoke fluent Spanish, connected with Amanda over their shared heritage, offering comfort and understanding. The Motorcycle Club's annual charity ride in March, raising money for veterans' services, became a family affair. Amanda volunteered at the registration table, while Bella helped hand out water bottles to riders. Seeing hundreds of bikers, all riding for a good cause, all demonstrating that tough exteriors could house compassionate hearts, reinforced for both of them that they were part of something larger than their trauma. In April, Amanda received notice that Derek was requesting early release based on good behavior and completion of prison counseling programs. Her stomach dropped. It had only been 8 months. But David Brennan assured her the request would likely be denied. It was far too soon, and the parole board took domestic violence cases seriously. Even if it were granted, which I doubt, he'd be on strict supervision, GPS monitoring, mandatory check-ins, no contact order still in effect. The request was indeed denied. Derek would serve at least 2 more years before being eligible again. That spring, Amanda made a decision that surprised even herself. She enrolled in classes to become a nurse practitioner, a goal she had abandoned years ago when she became a single mother and money was too tight. But with Helen Rodriguez's help, she had secured educational grants and scholarships specifically for single mothers pursuing advanced degrees. "Mom, are you going to be a doctor?" Bella asked when Amanda told her about the program. "Not exactly, but close. A nurse practitioner can do a lot of the same things doctors do: diagnose illnesses, prescribe medicine, take care of patients." "That's so cool." Bella's pride was evident. "You're going to help even more people." "That's the plan, Mija. And you know what? We're going to be okay, better than okay. We're going to thrive." 2 years later, on a sunny November morning, Amanda Martinez stood in the parking lot of Grace House Women's Shelter, helping to unload boxes of donations from Vinny Romano's truck. It was the annual clothing and supply drive organized by the Desert Riders MC, and Amanda had become one of the key volunteers coordinating the event. "Amanda, we've got more diapers and formula coming in the van," called Maria Romano, waving from across the parking lot. Amanda checked her clipboard, noting the inventory. Her organizational skills, honed from years of managing an ER nursing station, had made her invaluable to the shelter's operations. She now volunteered there twice a month, mentoring new arrivals and helping them navigate the overwhelming process of leaving an abusive situation. Bella, now 10 years old and radiating confidence, was helping sort clothing donations with a group of younger children. She had become something of a big sister to the kids at the shelter, understanding their fear and confusion from her own experience. Her presence, proof that children could survive trauma and flourish, gave hope to mothers who worried about the long-term effects on their own kids. "Ms. Martinez?" A hesitant voice made Amanda turn. A young woman, maybe 25, stood clutching a small duffel bag, her left eye swollen shut, her lips split. Patricia Chen, the shelter director, stood beside her with a supportive hand on her shoulder. "This is Casey Anderson," Patricia said. "She arrived this morning. I thought maybe you could show her around, help her get settled." Amanda's heart clenched with empathy. She remembered being in Casey's position exactly 2 years ago, frightened, ashamed, unsure if she had made the right decision to leave. "Of course. Hi, Casey. I'm Amanda. You're safe here, I promise." Over coffee in the shelter's small dining room, Amanda listened as Casey haltingly told her story. A boyfriend who started out sweet but became possessive and violent, escalating from verbal abuse to physical attacks. It was a familiar narrative, one Amanda had heard in various forms from dozens of women. "I feel so stupid," Casey whispered. "I should have left sooner. I should have seen the signs." "You're not stupid," Amanda said firmly. "You're brave. You left. That's the hardest part. And you know what? You're going to rebuild your life. It won't be easy, but you can do it. I did." She shared her own story, watching Casey's expression shift from despair to cautious hope. "You were here? At this shelter? 2 years ago. My daughter Bella, the girl outside organizing the kids, she saved my life by running to get help. I had nothing when I came here. No home, barely any money, a fractured rib and concussion. Now I'm 6 months away from finishing my nurse practitioner degree. I have a stable home, and my daughter is thriving. You can get there too." Patricia Chen, listening from the doorway, smiled. Amanda had become one of Grace House's most powerful success stories, proof that leaving an abuser wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new, better life. Later that afternoon, as the donation drive was winding down, Marcus Henderson arrived on his motorcycle. At 50 years old, with more grey in his ponytail, but the same steady presence, he had remained a constant in Amanda and Bella's lives. "How'd we do?" he asked, surveying the piles of sorted donations. 3 truckloads of clothes, tons of toiletries, diapers and formula, plus several $1,000s in cash donations, Amanda reported. "The shelter is set for months." "Good, that's real good." Marcus watched as Bella expertly organized a group of children into a game that was both fun and helped with sorting donated toys. "She's something special, that kid." "She is," Amanda agreed, her voice thick with emotion. "And she never would have had the chance to become who she is if you hadn't helped us that day, if you hadn't answered when she called for help." Marcus shook his head. "I was just the vehicle, Amanda. Bella's courage is what saved you both. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Maybe, but you chose to help. You didn't have to get involved, but you did. You and Jake and Vinny and the whole club. You gave us our lives back." What Amanda didn't mention, what she was planning to announce later, was that she had been accepted into a specialized program training nurse practitioners to work in domestic violence and trauma recovery. Her personal experience, combined with her medical expertise, made her an ideal candidate to help survivors dealing with both the physical and emotional aftermath of abuse. She would be able to work directly with women like Casey, like she herself had been, providing not just medical care, but understanding born from shared experience. That evening, the Desert Riders MC held their monthly meeting at Vinny's garage, which doubled as their unofficial clubhouse. To everyone's surprise, Amanda had asked to attend. Club meetings were normally members only, but Marcus had gotten special permission from the other members. "Brothers," Amanda stood before the group of 20 bikers, feeling nervous but determined. "2 years ago, when my daughter ran to you for help, you could have ignored her. You could have said it wasn't your problem. But you didn't. Marcus, Jake, Vinny, you intervened. You saved my life. And then you did something even more important. You helped me rebuild it." She looked around the room at these tough, leather-clad men and women. Former military, construction workers, mechanics, nurses, teachers. Society often judged them by their appearance, by stereotypes about bikers, but Amanda knew the truth. They were some of the most compassionate, loyal, service-oriented people she had ever met. "I can never repay what you've done for me and Bella," she continued. "But I want to pay it forward. Starting next month, I'll be working at a clinic that specializes in treating domestic violence survivors. I'm going to spend the rest of my career helping women like me, and I hope I can bring even a fraction of the compassion and dedication that you've shown." The room erupted in applause. Marcus stood and pulled Amanda into a bear hug, and soon others were following suit, congratulating her, telling her how proud they were. Diane Henderson wiped tears from her eyes. "We're so proud of you, honey. You've come so far." "We all have," Amanda replied, looking at Marcus. "Your club's motto is service, honor, brotherhood, right? You live those values every day. You taught me that healing isn't just about fixing what's broken, it's about building something new and better." Later, as the gathering transitioned into a social event with food and music, Bella sat on a bench outside with Jake Sullivan, who was teaching her some basic chords on his guitar. "Mr. Jake, can I ask you something?" Bella said, her fingers awkwardly positioned on the strings. "Sure, kiddo. Why did you help us that day? When I ran to the diner, you didn't know me. You could have just called the police and stayed out of it." Jake thought for a moment. "You know, Bella, when I was in the Marines, we had this saying, 'Leave no one behind.' It meant you never abandon your brothers in battle. But I think it's bigger than that. It means when you see someone in trouble, someone who needs help, you don't just walk past, you do something. Even if it's scary. Especially if it's scary. Because that's when help matters most." Bella nodded, processing this. "I was really scared that day. But I knew I had to get help for Mommy. I couldn't let Mr. Derek hurt her anymore. You were brave, Bella. Bravest kid I ever met. Do you think I can be strong like you guys when I grow up, like ride motorcycles and help people?" Jake grinned. "Bella, you're already strong, stronger than most adults I know. And you can be anything you want to be. But you know what? The world needs people who care, who help others, who stand up when it's hard. Whether you ride motorcycles or become a teacher or a doctor or anything else, if you keep that heart of yours, you're going to change lives." Inside, Amanda stood with Marcus, watching through the window as Jake and Bella talked. "He's good with her," she observed. "Jake's got a gentle soul," Marcus said. "He just hides it under all that leather and tattoos. We all do, I guess." "Thank you," Amanda said suddenly. "I've said it before, but I don't think I can say it enough. Thank you for seeing us as human beings worth saving. Thank you for not walking away." Marcus turned to her, his expression serious. "Amanda, you need to understand something. You saved yourself. You made the choice to leave, to protect your daughter, to rebuild. We just provided some support. The strength was in you all along. Maybe, but I wouldn't have found it without you. As the evening wore on, Amanda reflected on the journey of the past 2 years. The trial and conviction of Derek Vaughan, the therapy sessions that had helped her process the trauma, the support group where she had found connection with other survivors, the financial assistance that had allowed her to pursue her education, the friendship of the Desert Riders who had become her extended family. She thought about how far she and Bella had come from that terrified mother and daughter who had arrived at Grace House with nothing but each other. They had a home now, stability, hope for the future. Bella was excelling in school, active in soccer, making friends easily. Amanda was months away from her nurse practitioner certification, with a job already lined up at the trauma recovery clinic. Most importantly, they were happy, genuinely deeply happy in a way Amanda hadn't been in years, maybe ever. She had learned that happiness wasn't about having a partner or a big house or financial wealth. It was about safety, agency, connection and purpose. The legal system had given them justice. Grace House had given them shelter. New Beginnings had given them resources. The Desert Riders had given them community. But Amanda and Bella had given themselves the most important thing, a new beginning built on courage and resilience. 3 months later, in February, Amanda walked across a stage to receive her nurse practitioner certification. In the audience, Bella cheered loudly, sitting between Marcus and Diane Henderson. Surrounding them were dozens of people who had become family, members of the Desert Riders, staff from Grace House, fellow students from her program, and colleagues from Phoenix General. Jennifer Wu, the prosecutor from Derek's trial, had even come to celebrate. "You're an inspiration, Amanda," she said at the reception afterward. "I've prosecuted hundreds of domestic violence cases. Not all the survivors make it out. Many go back to their abusers. But you not only escaped, you thrived. That gives hope to everyone still trapped in those situations." Amanda's first day at the Phoenix Trauma Recovery Clinic came on a Monday morning in late February. The clinic was housed in a modest building in central Phoenix, serving uninsured and underinsured patients, many of them domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors, and veterans with PTSD. Her first patient was a 30-year-old woman named Jasmine Rodriguez, who'd been strangled by her husband and suffered ongoing neck pain and difficulty swallowing. As Amanda examined her, noting the faint bruising still visible on Jasmine's throat, she felt a profound connection. "I was where you are 2 years ago," Amanda said gently. "My ex-boyfriend put me in the hospital with a fractured rib and concussion. I know how hard this is." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. You understand. I do. And I want you to know something. This isn't your fault. What happened to you isn't the end of your story, and you are stronger than you know." Over the following months, Amanda found her calling. She wasn't just treating injuries. She was providing hope, understanding, and practical resources to help her patients escape and recover from abusive situations. She connected them with legal services, shelters, support groups, all while providing medical care with a compassion born from her own experience. On a Saturday in May, the Desert Riders MC held their annual charity ride for domestic violence services, with proceeds going to Grace House and the Phoenix Trauma Recovery Clinic. Over 500 motorcycles participated, creating a thunderous parade through Phoenix streets. Amanda rode as a passenger on Marcus's bike, with Bella as a passenger on Diane's bike behind them. As they cruised through the city, the rumble of engines echoing off buildings, Amanda felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and completion. The motorcycles that had once represented salvation in a moment of desperate need now represented community, strength, and service. At the rally point in the park, various speakers addressed the crowd about domestic violence awareness. When Amanda was invited to speak, she approached the microphone with Bella at her side. 2 years ago, my daughter ran into a cafe and begged strangers for help. Amanda began, her voice amplified across the park. Those strangers happened to be members of the Desert Riders MC. They could have ignored her. They could have said it wasn't their problem. But they didn't. They intervened. They saved my life. And then they helped me rebuild it. She paused, looking out at the sea of leather vests and motorcycles. Domestic violence thrives in silence and isolation. Abusers count on victims being too ashamed to ask for help, and on bystanders being too uncomfortable to get involved. But this community, the Desert Riders, Grace House, the Phoenix PD, legal advocates, medical professionals, you all refuse to be silent or passive. You see people in crisis and you act. Bella stepped forward, her voice clear despite her nerves. When I ran to get help that day, I didn't know if anyone would listen to me. I was just a scared kid, but Mr. Marcus and Mr. Jake and Mr. Vinny, they listened. They believed me. They saved my mom. And now my mom helps other people every day at her clinic. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus, standing off to the side, felt his throat tighten with emotion. This was why the Desert Riders existed. Not for the motorcycles, not for the image, but for moments like this. For the chance to make a real difference in people's lives. After the rally, as the sun set over the Phoenix Mountains, casting the desert in shades of orange and purple, Amanda found a quiet moment to reflect. She stood apart from the celebration, watching Bella play with other children, watching the bikers laughing and talking, watching this beautiful, imperfect, compassionate community that had embraced her and her daughter. She thought about Derek Vaughan, still in prison with a year left on his sentence. She had heard through David Brennan that Derek had been a model prisoner, completing every rehabilitation program available, expressing remorse for his actions. Amanda didn't know if his change was genuine or simply a strategy for early release, but she realized something important. It didn't matter. Derek no longer had power over her life. He was a chapter in her past, not a presence in her present or future. She had learned the warning signs, healed the wounds both physical and emotional, and built a new life on a foundation of strength and self-worth. Whatever Derek did or didn't do, wherever his path led, it would never intersect with hers again. The protective order would remain in effect indefinitely. If Derek ever tried to contact her or Bella, he would violate his parole and go straight back to prison. But Amanda didn't think he would. The GPS monitoring during his trial had shown that Derek never came anywhere near their neighborhood. He had moved on, or at least moved away, just as she had. "Mom!" Bella called, running over. "Can we get ice cream on the way home? Mr. Marcus said there's a good place near our apartment." "Sure, mija," Amanda smiled, pulling her daughter close. "Ice cream sounds perfect." As they walked toward where the bikes were parked, Marcus fell into step beside them. "You did good today," he said to Amanda. "Your speech, the work you're doing at the clinic, you're making a real difference." "I learned from the best," Amanda replied. "You taught me that helping others is the best way to heal yourself." "We're all teachers. We're all students," Marcus said philosophically. "That's how community works. You give what you can, you take what you need, and somehow it all balances out." 3 months later, in August, Amanda received word that Derek had been granted parole with strict conditions, including mandatory counseling, GPS monitoring, and a no-contact order. He was being released to a halfway house in Tucson, over 100 miles away from Phoenix. Amanda felt a momentary flutter of anxiety, but then it passed. Derek was someone else's problem now. Parole officers, counselors, the legal system. She had taken back her life, her power, her future. He couldn't touch that anymore. That same month, Amanda was promoted to senior nurse practitioner at the clinic, with responsibilities for training new staff and developing treatment protocols. She had become a recognized expert in trauma-informed medical care for abuse survivors. Bella started 5th grade with confidence and enthusiasm, joining the school's art club and trying out for the soccer team. Her teacher sent home a note during the first week. Bella is a joy to have in class, kind to others, eager to learn, and a natural leader. On a Friday evening in September, exactly 2 years to the day after Bella had run to the Desert Riders for help, the club held a special ceremony. They presented Amanda and Bella with honorary vests, not full membership, but a recognition of their connection to the club and its values. "In our club, we believe in service, honor, and brotherhood," Marcus said, as he draped the vests around their shoulders. "Sisterhood too," he added with a smile. "You two embody everything we stand for. Bella, your courage saved your mother's life. Amanda, your strength and determination to not just survive, but to use your experience to help others. That's what heroism looks like." The vest Amanda received had Desert Riders Honorary Member embroidered on the back, along with a patch that read Phoenix Rising, a symbol of resurrection and renewal that perfectly captured her journey. Bella's vest was similar, scaled to her size, making her beam with pride. "I'll treasure this forever," Amanda said, her voice thick with emotion. "You gave me my life back. All of you. I can never repay that." "You already have," Diane Henderson said, hugging her. "Every woman you help at the clinic, every survivor you inspire with your story, that's the repayment. You're paying it forward." As the evening wound down and people began to leave, Amanda stood with Marcus one last time, watching Bella show off her vest to Jake. "Do you ever think about that day?" Amanda asked. "About what might have happened if you hadn't been at Ruby's diner?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes, but I try not to dwell on what-ifs. What matters is what did happen. Bella found us, we helped, and you took that help and built something beautiful. That's the story that matters." "It's not over yet," Amanda said. "The story, we're still writing it." "Best stories never really end," Marcus agreed. "They just keep unfolding, one chapter at a time." Amanda looked at her daughter, healthy and happy and whole, then at the community of people who had become her family, and felt overwhelming gratitude. The journey from victim to survivor to thriver had been long and painful, but she had made it. They had made it together, and every day at her clinic, she would help others make that same journey. She would be for them what Marcus and the Desert Riders had been for her, a lifeline, a source of hope, proof that it was possible to escape darkness and find light again. The Arizona sky, darkening to deep purple with the last rays of sunset, seemed to mirror Amanda's inner landscape. Vast, beautiful, full of possibility. She had been broken and beaten, but she had healed. She had been trapped, but she had escaped. She had been hopeless, but she had found hope. And most importantly, she had learned that strength didn't mean facing everything alone. Strength meant having the courage to ask for help, to accept it when offered, and to extend it to others in their time of need. As Amanda and Bella climbed into their Honda, now reliable and well-maintained thanks to Jake's expert care, and drove toward home, Amanda felt at peace. The road ahead would have challenges, certainly, but she no longer faced them alone. She had her daughter, her community, her purpose, and her hard-won wisdom. They had not just survived, they had triumphed. And their story would inspire others to do the same, one brave step at a time. The little girl who had begged for help had saved her mother. The mother had saved herself. And together, they had helped countless others find their own path to freedom and healing. That was justice. That was victory. That was love.